I don't know if you can believe it, but this is my 7th Rosh Hashanah here, together with you at Or Shalom in our community. And in the theme of last night's sermon about finding ways to choose blessings in this year, I would just want to take a brief moment to recognize this milestone for me and for my family and to say thank you. Thank you to all of you here in our Or Shalom community for just making us feel at home here, always. Well, over these 7 years, I suppose it's likely that you've also noticed that I have a love of baseball. But you may not know that my affinity for the world's best sport is connected to my love of Torah. You see, beneath the surface of the game of baseball, there's a story that's happening on the field. And if you're not a baseball person, please don't tune me out quite yet. I promise you we're going somewhere with this, okay? Have you ever thought, what is baseball really all about? If you think about it, a player starts from home and is getting ready to leave. Where does that batter go? Around the bases with the intention of arriving safely back home. Only this incredible game acknowledges that when we return, something significant that has happened. The player has gained something along the way, and as a result, the whole team has grown in what it has, and therefore it's granted a run. Each time the team successfully guides a player in a journey around the bases and returns home, the whole team benefits and grows. Home becomes richer. Well, isn't this a story that's told again and again in our Torah? The story of leaving home and journeying, but finding a way back to what home can be. Whether it's the jarring story of Abraham and Isaac that we just read, in which father and son leave home and are forever changed by the events that happen up on that mountain. The saga of Rebekah leaving her home in order to join with the person who becomes the love of her life and building a new home. Or the collective journey of the Israelites who left their homes in Egypt in order to come back to the land of Israel and establish their new societal home, leaving slavery and entering freedom. Our Torah is filled with chronicles of growth as our biblical ancestors discovered for themselves just what home can look like. Only I don't think they celebrated with fist bumps too often when they reached home safely. Well, at least as far as we know. In the story of searching for and returning home that we find in baseball and in our stories of Torah, we recognize this is the story of our lives as well. This is the story of growing up, the journey of finding who we want to become and establishing ourselves amidst community. And this is the story of our high holidays, Hashivenu. We return. We return over a year's journey. We are back home. It's our time to reflect, how have we grown? What have we gained on this journey? We live this narrative, sometimes with great successes, and sometimes we strike out a lot as we strive to build what we want our home to be. Since it tells the story that we're trying to live, our Torah can be a gift. It can be a source of guidance, offering us the chance to learn from the mistakes and triumphs of others without having to walk those missteps ourselves. It can be a source of support, helping us to see that it is possible to achieve, even when the challenges around us seem unassailable. This is the reason our Torah is considered our Eitz Chaim, our tree of life, and has been depicted as the center, the focal point, standing on the pitcher's mound of our community as Jewish people. In times like these that we're living through, in times so filled with change and uncertainty, I know we're all feeling a bit like we've had to leave home, metaphorically, even as some of us haven't been able to leave home physically. And this is where our Torah can become a grounding influence for us, a source of guidance and support and perspective to help us figure out what home needs to be for us. And our Torah is often called a living document, even as it stood unchanged for thousands of years. How can something that is so set and fixed be alive? Well, that's what's up to us. Now, just like in baseball, there are many approaches at the plate that can help a player or a team to succeed. There are many entry points and accessible avenues to allow the Torah into our hearts to offer us that opportunity to find what we want home to be. One tradition that exists to help us find new insights into the Torah, to help us connect this Torah to our current lives and inspire our journeys around the bases in this new year, comes from a practice called gematria. Gematria is this discipline in Hebrew of acknowledging that every Hebrew letter has a numerical value assigned to it. For instance, Aleph, the first letter of the Aleph Bet, is 1. Bet is 2, all the way to the last letter Tav, which is 400. And gematria is the academic game of finding connections in the numerical values of words. This is why often Jewish people will make donations in multiples of 18. Since 18 is the word chai, which means life. Chet is 8, Yud is 10, Chai is Chet Yud, and there you go. Life. Chai means life, 18, metaphorically speaking, is life. And so when we give a donation in $18 increments, we're giving a gift of life. Well, there's a tradition of linking Torah verses at this time of year to the new year that we find, by finding sections of the Torah that correspond to the number in our new year, 5782. And thanks to Daniel Matt, a leading scholar of the Zohar, a Jewish mystical text, he's identified some beautiful ways for our Torah to frame this year. In fact, in his release of his gematrial findings, he declared this to be the year that you shall not hate. Since the words lo tisna in Leviticus 19:17, which means you shall not hate, they add up to 782, which is this year minus the thousands place. For some reason, the tradition ignores the thousands place. But think about it, wouldn't this be a great way for us each to make this year better? To find a way to live lo tisna, to live without hatred in our hearts, to inspire others to do so as well. It's a call to make this a year of love, a year of standing up for those who are targets of hatred. There are a couple of other phrases that he has found for this year that include Bechozek yad hotzi ve'et chanan mizeh, Adonai etchem mizeh. By the strength of hand, Adonai has brought you out from all of this, which is Exodus. It comes right in the middle of the story of the Exodus from Egypt and acknowledges the ways that God guided the Israelites from slavery in Egypt into freedom. We often interpret this story to allow it to inspire us to partner with God in being that strength of hand that lifts others to freedom. What if we step up to the plate, wielding this verse wherever we go this year? We commit ourselves to lifting those around us who are most in need of help. This is how we bring Torah to life. This is how we live it. Now, the more skeptical among us might be saying to me right now, these are just coincidences of numbers and words. And while you may be right, in preparing for this teaching, I was curious about what I might find for the past year, the one we're leaving behind. And I came across a word that equals 781. The word is Ashpat, which literally translates to dunghill. And I know that wasn't every aspect of this past year, but I can tell there are quite a few of us who are agreeing with this description of last year right now. But I didn't stop there. I didn't find this just for comedic value. I looked it up, and this word does appear in our Hebrew Bible. In Psalms, verse 113:7, it says, God lifts up the poor from the dust, lifts up those in need from the ashpat, from the dunghill. And it turns out This psalm, I should have caught it before, but this psalm is quoted as part of our traditional Hallel blessing, the songs of praise that we recite on special occasions and happy holidays. So for those of us who had a pretty rotten year, isn't it uplifting to think that from the Ashpat of 5781, we can be lifted up. We can be brought back home, singing songs of triumph and praise. The Torah version of Go Cubs Go, or Don't Stop Believin'. I know that was so 2005. My White Sox reference are a bit dated here. Anyway, sometimes this is exactly the message that we need to hear. That things will get better. They can improve. The challenges of today can be overcome. And we can do so together. In this way, our Torah helps us to escape the jadedness that sometimes life creates in our hearts. And so I have one more verse to share with you for this year. It's a verse that I want to use to invite us all as a community to work together, to live in this next year. Pakad alai livnot equals 782. He has ordered me to build. This quote comes from the book of Ezra. Ezra was a prophet who established the ritual of reading Torah publicly and bringing the Torah to people with transparency so we can each own and make the Torah stories our own, so that we can live the Torah. Ezra recognized that if this document was just made up of words that sat on a scroll and were never read, it wouldn't mean anything. Instead, he teaches us we have to take these words to heart. We have to live them. We have to build the home that these laws and stories inspire us to create. And so I want to suggest that we make this our congregational theme for the year. I'm inviting you all to join us in a year of living Torah. That we come together to shape our next year by engaging with our core stories and acknowledging the resonance of our central text in our lives. Throughout the year, we'll be connecting our learning opportunities, our weekly updates, our J-squared religious school journeys to this theme, so that we can all access ways of living Torah in this new year. But living Torah is not just about reading the text and learning from it. It's about how we come together as a community, as a team, to strengthen our sense of home through connections with one another, through acts of loving kindness and pursuit of justice that improves the world for those around us. Living Torah is the way in which we gain insight on how we want our home to look and feel. So we invite you to lean into this theme with us. The Torah can ground us in these times of misinformation and over-politicization, giving us a core from which to respond. So this year, look for opportunities for all of us. You can join a chavurah, a small group of friends, providing a more intimate family within our congregational family with whom to celebrate the year and build meaningful moments together. You can live Torah by becoming a part of our racial justice discussion group, or take part in some of our social action experiences to explore who we want to become and to really go out in building the world we want to see. In fact, our first Living Torah event will be Thursday night online, a virtual opportunity to share a vidui, our prayer for saying I'm sorry, in acknowledging our connection, our role in racism in our country. We invite you to live Torah by attending one of the many learning opportunities that will happen throughout the year to gain new insight. And a big highlight of this year of living Torah will be that we're going to be commissioning the writing of a new Torah scroll. As a community, we are going to bring Torah to life literally and figuratively. You'll find out more in the coming weeks about this special project, but we'll all have a chance to engage in the mitzvah, the commandment of building and of living Torah in so many ways. Our Torah can guide us. Our Torah can guide us in many, many paths. And when we do so together, let this Torah guide us as an Or Shalom family. We will bring our Torah to life. So as we strive to live Torah in this year, I pray that Or Shalom can be one of those homes for each of us. A place where we can share our journeys. A place where we can feel like we've advanced our congregational team through our trips around the bases in this next year. That we can build that home where we are supporting one another as we grow, and through our actions together, we will build a better year for us all. May 5782 bring us these blessings as we live Torah. Batter up.
Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Hours pass, the answers may change as we keep moving along. Stand at the shores of the sea, fearful we want to turn back. The sea parts, our eyes fill with wonder as we go along on our journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Days pass, the answers can change as we keep moving along. Stepping onto the unknown, hear the echoes of a Miriam song. We awaken, retelling our stories as we go along on our journey. Where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Years pass, the answers have changed as we keep moving along. Cross the sea, it's the time to sing a song. We are free. Dance with your timbrels in hand. There's no turning back from this journey. Together, where does the journey begin? Where will we go? Hours pass, the answers may change as we keep moving along. Days pass, the answers can change as we keep moving along. Years pass, the answers have changed as we keep moving along.